Folks, it's very easy to agree with U.S. foreign policy. It's very easy to get on social media and denounce the government of Venezuela, or denounce the government of Russia, or denounce the government of China, or denounce the government of Zimbabwe. It's very, very easy to use your voice to echo what all the voices in U.S. society are saying. There's nothing remotely courageous about essentially being a vessel for the rulers of this society. It is so, so easy to get up and say, you know what, I am morally opposed to what some government on the other side of the world that my government is telling me to hate is doing. There is nothing remotely heroic about it. However, to criticize your own government, to criticize the leaders of your own country, is a bold stand. And there's nothing that annoys me more than the type of person that cannot criticize their own government, right? When the USA funds death squads in Central America, well, but, they had to because the communists, the USA funds terrorists in Syria that are beheading people and murdering people that have ties to Al-Qaeda. Well, but Assad, blah, blah, blah. This is cowardice, plain and simple. It's simply cowardice, right? Some people just aren't morally and intellectually strong enough to criticize what the leaders of their own government are doing, right? It's very easy to take a stand about something when there are no consequences. But unfortunately, there are quite a few people that really are intellectually about on the level of a kindergartner, right? The kindergartner wants to believe its parents, wants to believe the teacher, wants to believe the friendly police officer. They couldn't possibly think that the friendly police officer or their parent or the kindergarten teacher could ever do anything wrong, right? These authorities just want to keep them safe, and oh my God, they can't bring themselves to consider the realities of what might actually be taking place, because lo and behold, that would be scary. It's just too scary for them to comprehend, right? It's just scary. What? Our leaders are bad. I can't let myself think about that. I just want to fit in with society, and they want to be rewarded, right? They want to get their little sticker. They want to feel like they're doing a good job. They want to get patted on the head. They want to be able to look at CNN and say, CNN agrees with me. Look, this is reality, folks. Agreeing with U.S. foreign policy at this point is nothing but cowardice, right? There's all this talk about immigration right now. Why is it that there are huge numbers of people fleeing Central America? Where did these drug gangs operating on the U.S.-Mexico border come from? It came from the fact that our leaders had a policy, and still have a policy, of every time a government emerges in Central America or South America that actually wants to build infrastructure, fight for its people, and develop the economy, they tear it down. They fund terrorists and death squads to go in there and tear it down. Read about what was done in Nicaragua. Read about what was done in El Salvador and Guatemala. Read about what's being done now in Venezuela as we're trying to undermine that country and wreck its economy. The USA goes throughout Central America, wrecking different countries, tearing down independent governments, funding drug dealers. Yes, drug dealers. You can read about how the very people who introduced crack into Los Angeles and other parts of the country were tied with the Contras of Nicaragua, tied with the paramilitaries in Colombia that were supported by the United States. U.S. foreign policy is largely responsible for the crisis of mass migration and the crimes of the drug gangs. They emerged from forces supported by the U.S. government, right? Or you can look at what's happening in the Middle East right now. Osama bin Laden, he was a result of U.S. foreign policy, of the United States finding a wealthy Saudi construction firm heir, helping him to set up a jihadist army to go to Afghanistan and fight the Soviet Union, right? ISIS emerged from the terrorist groups the USA was supporting in Syria to try to bring down the Syrian government and the Syrian Arab Republic. If you support U.S. foreign policy at this point, right, you are either ignorant and just don't know the facts, or you are a coward. Because if you're afraid of terrorism, the terrorists have emerged as a result of U.S. foreign policy. If you're afraid of drug gangs and cartels and narcos and the horror and the mess going on down by the U.S. border, then that's come as a result of U.S. foreign policy. You need to be strong enough. I challenge you to not be weak and not be cowardly, but be strong enough to say, you know what, my government is wrong. My government is fomenting chaos around the world, and something needs to be done about it. It takes courage to question U.S. foreign policy. Weak people that just want to get their sticker and get their little trophy and get praised by their teacher and fit in with society, They're not able to question U.S. foreign policy. It takes intellectual and moral courage to question what the U.S. government is doing, and I urge people to strongly think about whether or not they want to be responsible for more death.